Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Wool Ornaments. And today we're going to do two videos. We're going to do two ornaments, not two videos, because last month was a crazy month. Peter was on vacation, I was sick, and it just didn't happen. So you would have already gotten November's kit in the mail, which is fine. And then we'll talk about November and December. So if you've not opened November, you're still okay. Which you're okay if you did open it. So this is a crazy month. It's December. It's Christmas. It's a whole lot of everything. So we're doing family Christmas this weekend. And we got family coming in from out of state. And there's going to be, I think one of my grandkids said this morning, 22 people together for Christmas. So that's a lot of people. And this is the first year we're not having it at a house. We're going to another facility to have our Christmas because there are so many people and we're always sitting on top of each other and we have to shoo the kids into another room and it's just absolute chaos, but it's Christmas, so that's what it's all about. One of my grandsons was over last night and he was picking up the packages and reading the tags, trying to find his, and I'm like, well, did you find any of yours? And he did something that I said, well, you just lost a present. So he was a little devastated about that, but only for a minute because he knew I was kidding. So, well, let's get on with it. So if you have baking to do or wrapping to do, you can get that all done. So for November, it is the Festive Wreaths, which is on page 45 in your book. And this is our wreath that we're doing. It's a Santa Claus. And he has quite a few stitches in him, the embroidery stitches, but by now you should be fairly confident with doing, there's that feather stitch. I think every single ornament has had a feather stitch in it. There's a, looks like a chain stitch here with some straight stitches. Another chain stitch down here, and of course our favorite blanket stitch, which is around everything. And I sat down with Lydia, who had asked if she had some questions, and I said, well, come on in, we'll sit down and we'll talk and we'll get you back on track. And we spent probably half hour to 45 minutes, and if you saw on the Insiders group, she posted that she finished this ornament, which I was so proud of her. So good job, Lydia. And if any of you, as I've always said, if you have problems, you have questions, please call or come in. You know, I'll take the time to sit down with you because this is something that I want you to be able to enjoy and to do, and not like Lydia that she looked at it and went, oh my gosh, that I just can't do that today, so she puts it away. I don't want your kids to be having to do something with all of these when they're cleaning out the house. So I'll go through a couple things that she had questions about. And one thing she had a question about was the order of stitching. So when you layer your piece together, you kind of have to think it through, read all your directions first, and think through the process before you start stitching. Because you do have a lot of pieces that overlap each other. So you have to keep that in mind. And because on this one, your hat would be probably one of the first things to go on, and then the face, because then the beard and the mustache and the brim of the hat all overlap that. So you have to kind of think through that order and then fuse those down. Then the other thing you have to think about is, okay, how am I going to stitch this? Where do I need to stop and start? So if you want your stitches to kind of be hidden underneath, before you would do the mustache or the band, I would stitch around the hat and then around the beard. And then you would layer your brim of your hat and your mustache on, and then you would go around those. Her other question was like, these stitches, would you do them before you cut the piece out? Would you do them after you fused it on? I would say one of two things. And this might be a little difficult, you might be able to see it through the white, but I kind of doubt it, is before you cut this out, put those stitches on, but my recommendation would be is after you fuse this on, then do the stitches. You've not done your back yet, so any of your stitches that come through on the back, they're fine. Any embellishments, you'll want to put those on before you do your back. Her other question was, you never show the back. Here's the back. So one question she had also was the hat and the beard, they come down past the wreath. So her question was, do you cut it to go around that? And my response is yes, because that's going to support the tip of the hat and then the beard, so you don't have this piece of wool flopping. Otherwise, you'd probably have the wreath come down here. So you may want to wait until you have all of the front done before you even cut your back out, and then go around it so you have these parts that are hanging off the edge. So, and you see there's red and white and green thread. It's not going to matter. This is the back of your ornament. It'll be hanging on your tree this way. So if somebody's going to come up and look at the back, look at your stitches, they don't need to do that. They just need to look at the front and see how well you did. Now, as I've told you, when you place the face and the mustache and all this, your space in here is going to vary depending on where you put it. These chain stitches for his eyebrows, Lydia didn't have quite as much room, so she just did an outline stitch up there, and it made him look bushy, and she liked that. So those are your options. If you don't like a stitch or something and you have a better idea, go ahead and do it. I've always told you these are your projects. We're just giving you the directions on how to do it, but you can do what you want to do as far as stitches, even the fabric. So this is our festive Santa wreath, and I hope you have fun with him because he's a jolly old elf. So that is for November. And then December, and Lydia, I apologize I told you wrong which one was next. Because for December, we're doing the snow globes. And that's going to be on page 65. And these were fun. This is the one where I looked at how they displayed them, and I went on the hunt. Because in the book, and I'd never seen these before, this is a Scotch cellophane tape container. And I thought, that's a lot of tape. But I thought, that is so cool. So I went out on eBay and I found one. And I thought, okay, I'm going to put my ornament on here. And if you look in the book, what they did, and I'm sure they took the hanger and brought it over the edge and inside of the container and then put the lid on, because then that would hold your ornament. And they covered the center part like that. So you wouldn't see the Scotch, but you would have the plaid, which I think that's kind of a trademark of theirs, to have a plaid. I think now they use a green plaid more than a red plaid. So I thought that was fun. So again, if you don't want to put them on your tree, be creative in how you use them. Hang them on a garland, hang them on your tree. Do this with it. If you have like several different shapes and sizes of bottles, you could shorten up your string and you can hang them on there. There's just a lot of things you can do with them. So what you're going to get in your December kit, and it'll look like this, is your black wool. This is going to be for your snow globe part right here, and then for the back. So that'll be your black. You've got green for your tree. So that's a good green. Oh, we talked about whether there's a right side or a wrong side to your wool. Yes and no. Some of it yes, some of it no. On this one, there's a little bit of texture in it, but it looks the same on both sides. So this piece, there is not a right or wrong. This one is just a solid black, so no right or wrong. When you get to the ones that are hand-dyed, sometimes there's going to be a more definite color variation on the front. You can see this is the dark part right here, and when you flip it over, it's kind of muted. So this would be the wrong side, except there's so many exceptions. If you don't want this much of a variegation on your wool, you could use the back where it's not so bold. So again, it's personal preference. So this would be for the snow here at the bottom under the tree. And then the red, again, that's a textured, like the green. You'll use that for the base. And then this piece is for your itty-bitty tree trunk. So that's a small piece, and you only need a smidgen of it. So you're going to have that much and that much left over. So hang on to that. You might need that. And, of course, you'll have your buttons, which go on the tree and at the top. For the yellow one is your star. And then you have your string for to hang it with. So this one was pretty straightforward. We have done all these stitches. These are French knots, the little stars. You can, if you have some really small star buttons, you could put them there if you didn't want to do the French knots. And you would do all of those before you put your back on. This looks like a chain stitch for the garland on the tree, and then it's got some straight stitches coming off of it. Here's our favorite feather stitch that we have done on just about every ornament, but maybe one. And then, of course, your blanket stitch all the way around. So again, as you layer, when you cut your front part out, this is the shape that you're going to have. So do your base, and you can stitch around that if you kind of want to tuck your stitches underneath. You'll have your black, then would be your snow, so then you could stitch that around, because then your tree is going to overlap on the snow. You can tuck your trunk under there, maybe start here and stitch around on your tree, stop here, tuck your trunk under, stitch it, and then finish your stitching. And then you're going to do your back, which nothing overlaps on this. It's all the same piece. And then stitch around that. It looks like what I did is I did my top part stitching, but since there's red thread around the bottom, I stitched the base to the back with the red. So I waited to do that stitching. So you got your blanket stitch. You can't see it because that's in black. And then you've got your white around there. So this is a quick, fun little one. And if you do find a Scotch container on eBay, pick one up. You could even put a magnet in here and stick it on to this if you didn't want to do the string, which you had a bunch of these. If you were lucky enough to have them from parents, grandparents, then you could do a whole display with these and a magnet or whatever on them. So that's it for December. And I know this is a week before Christmas. If you don't get to this until after Christmas, it's okay. Your wool and your stitching is all going to be there when Christmas settles down, and you know you guys have had your Christmases, and it's time to just kind of take a deep breath and sit down in your chair and stitch away. So I want to remind you about Birdie's Year. That's coming up in, oh, help me out, Peter. Is that January or February?
I can't remember.
In February, because we have one more month with the ornaments, and that will be January. So then Birdie's Year will start in February. We do still have spots in that group, and the way that we're creating that class, club, whatever you want to call it, will be very much like how we have done the wool ornaments is we'll do the video support with it. We'll send your kit out, and then the videos will be up, so you can always refer back to them. You do have an option whether you want to do just monthly little small wall hangings, or you can wait until the end and put it all together as a big quilt, whatever you have room for. So kind of be thinking about that if you're signing up. Let's see, what else do I need to tell you about Birdie? It's going to be fun. It's going to be on a bigger scale than these ornaments because the pieces are somewhat bigger. There may be some tiny pieces, like Birdie always has a beak, so that's going to be a small piece. There is going to be embroidery stitches in it because Birdie has feet, and there's just different things that you're going to be stitching down. So I have been wanting to do this for a long time, so when the thought came up is, oh, I could do Birdie's year after this. So, and then there's another option running around in my head that I'm trying to figure out how and when.
Is it one that's just kind of been pecking at you?
It is. It is. I forget who brought, Cappy brought the flyer back to me from one of their markets that they went to, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that would be so fun. So if you like pin cushions, it's the only hint I'll give you. Keep an eye out. So again, if you have questions, please don't sit at home and go, I just can't do this. Please call me. We'll do what we can, even if we have to do a video to show you how to do this. I know I'm a visual learner and a hands-on learner. If I see it and I'm doing it, I got it. So if that's you, that's fine. Please call us. We'll do what we can to get you over that hump and finishing up your ornaments. And again, post them on the Insiders group. I mean, that shows people that, hey, they've got wool. They're doing these things, and we want people to enjoy it. This is kind of the season when it gets cooler that people want to get their wool out and work with it, because you associate wool with colder weather. So give us a call, post your finished projects on the Insiders group, and have a very Merry Christmas. I'm still praying for a white Christmas, but I know I'm not going to get it. Not when it's 50 degrees outside. I decided I'm moving to Canada, so they do have snow there. I do know that. So have a Merry Christmas. Enjoy family and friends and all the memories that you guys will be making this year. So we will see you next year on our next video. So have a great day and happy stitching.